So I've recorded a couple stories that are sort of bummers. Not like super duper bummers, but not happy stories exactly. And I thought I kind of have a responsibility to put some positivity out in the world. Because I generally try to be a positive person. I feel like I should exude my positivity. So here's a pointless story that isn't particularly interesting and it doesn't really have a point, but it makes me happy when I think about it. But I rarely tell a story because it's not a very interesting one. Come along for the ride. I'm happy to be your background noise while you're doing something I'm sure extravagant and very important, like grinding in your favorite RPG. Um, anyway, my grandfather on my mother's side is called Papa. Now, when I was little, my brother was having trouble differentiating between both his grandmas, right? Because they're both just grandma, and then he was like, "It's too confusing. Two people can't be named the same thing." So this grandma always cooks me food, Italian, and then this grandma always gets me toys, German. So this is gonna be grandma food. This is gonna be grandma toy. And then I thought it wasn't fair that Pop-Up didn't get, Grandpa at the time didn't get a special name. So I was like, well, he needs a special name. So what names can we give Grandpa? And then my mom or dad were like listing off some names. They were like, there's like, I don't know, whatever people call their grandpas, like Ninan, Hihan, whatever, like they were listing off stuff, and then they said Pop, I think is what it actually was. Pop, because it's like, your dad would be your pop, and then your dad's dad would be the pop. Something I only put together very recently, because I thought it was Pop-Up, like a pop-up ball. Like I thought it was P-O-P-U-P, like Pop-Up. Like a pop in baseball where it's like really high and then you have to take off your hat to catch it, because this whatever. So Pop-Up, he would disappear at different times and then people were like, oh, where did he go, whatever. And this was very exciting. Well, not very exciting, it was kind of exciting, because you're a kid and lots of imagination. So there was lots of people talking. We were over at my grandparents' house for some kind of holiday, and everyone kind of milling about and lots of loud conversation. Everyone's kind of getting stuff in order, and I kind of didn't have anything to do, right? Because I'm too little to really care about the conversations, and there's no real good toys over there. There's this one stuffed dog, but what am I going to do with the dog? So I was like, oh, this is probably exactly when Pop-Up would disappear, because I feel like there's nothing going on here. And so I go over to the door and I spot Pop-Up is putting his shoes on. So I go over and I was like, oh, where are you going? He's like, oh, I'm going for a walk. You want to come along? And he goes like, everyone's like real loud in the other room, and it like flares up a little bit, and he goes like exhausted. And much later, I would come to hear this kind of attitude described as being introverted, where like you get exhausted from social interaction. And I don't know how much I buy into the whole extroverted, introverted stuff. I think it's kind of bullshit, because I feel like a lot of people are both, different moods or different kinds of things. But anyway, Pop-Up was a bit introverted, I guess, and he was kind of exhausted by the whole first people meeting and lots of energy and whatever. Italiano. So he was going out for a walk, and he invited me along, and I felt very special. I felt like we were going on a secret mission, and I got my shoes on really quickest I've ever gotten my shoes on. Believe you me, as a kid, getting your shoes on is never terribly fast, but I got my shoes on fast because I was like, we're going on an adventure. And he took me on a super normal walk, and it was very uneventful, but it was really interesting because I saw like a different side of Pop-Up, where he was like I don't know, it's just like how he breathes, how he like sighed, how he just like was walking, and he wasn't like watching to make sure I was coming along, but he wasn't like totally ignoring me. It was just like we were just walking together, and it felt very kind of equal, I guess. It was just interesting to see this different side of him, see where he goes when everyone's like, oh my god, where did he go, you know, because he's old and stuff. And we went on like a long walk, and then came back, and everyone was, oh my god, where did you guys go, kind of. And they weren't that upset, I guess. They figured that I went with Pop-Up since we were both gone. And it was cool. It was very peaceful, and it was like kind of preferable in a way to the big buzz of the conversation. But I would consider myself a lot more outgoing, so it's kind of it's where I kind of come at the angle of being. I think most people are kind of both, is because I can appreciate the solitude, and I can also appreciate the buzz of the party. It's kind of nice to just let just the noise of happy friends and family just kind of envelop you. But I guess Pop-Up was the other way on that day. And yeah, it was just a nice walk where I was Pop-Up's little sidekick. Like I said in the beginning, the story doesn't really have a point. But it's just a happy memory that isn't that interesting. But hopefully pleasant for you too. Even if it's not, thanks for listening. Hopefully you'll hear from me again soon.